right, so this is my man, Ted Lieu. He's a representative of California, the 36th District of California, and he is a badass. Last thing he tweeted was, "Yes, Trump is repeatedly mentioned in the Epstein documents." So he's already on my good list, but all right, let's check him out.
I'm not a firefighter.
Mr. Ring, are you a firefighter? Mr. Ring, it's just a yes or no question. Mr. Ring, are you a firefighter?
No.
All right, Mr. Greenhow, are you a firefighter?
I'm not a firefighter.
The northern part of my district was evacuated. I've talked to numerous firefighters. I've visited the intensive damage. I've had multiple briefings from firefighters, first responders, and fire chiefs. This is what they told me. The reason these fires in Southern California spread so quickly, caused so much damage, was because of Santa Ana winds that reached unprecedented gusts of 100 miles per hour. Gusts so high that helicopters and the airplanes could not fly. Also because of very low relative humidity and the driest conditions in California history. None of the firefighters said it was about overregulation or homeless people or the Delta spelt fish or the timber harvest or voter ID laws. So shame on anyone who is exploiting the pain and suffering of disaster victims to jam through partisan ideological policies. We should get disaster aid to these disaster victims now without conditions, just like we treat every other disaster victim across America. We just gave aid this past December to South Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma. The Democrats say, hey, we want you to do better on climate change policies in your state. No, we just gave that aid because these are Americans who are suffering. So do not exploit them. I yield back. Our gentleman from Arizona on the other side of the aisle gave away the game today when he said why he wanted the audio transcript.
We need the audio. Now let me explain why. Because your attorney also said that you did alter the transcript, and they said it was filler words, repeat words, and, I. But you know what? We don't know whether the blank, he said there were blank times where there was silence. We don't know whether those were 1 minute long, 2 minutes long. We don't know if he sputtered for and, because those were edited out. We do not know whether this supports and substantiates Mr. Herr's findings.
What the heck? What is the big deal if he says and twice? You want the transcript of what the heck are they even complaining about right now?
He said we wouldn't know if Joe Biden had said and.
They're talking about Joe Biden.
So I just want to ask you this question. Special Counsel Robert Hur said that this transcript was accurate. The written transcript was an accurate rendition of the audio transcript, correct? Except for some stutters.
Yes.
Okay. So what the gentleman from Arizona wants is that transcript audio with the and, because Joe Biden stutters. He's had a stuttering problem his entire life. He overcame stuttering. He was made fun of in school, and he overcame this disability to become president
Do some people not know
of the United States, a leader of the free world. And it is despicable that my Republican colleagues want to go after him for his stuttering problem. They should apologize, and I yield. Trump advisor Roger Stone was convicted in a federal court, correct?
That's my recollection.
Trump donor Elliot Brady was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Also my recollection.
The Attorney General at the time for those two convictions was Bill Barr. Which president nominated Bill Barr for Attorney General?
President Trump.
Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Yes.
Trump's former deputy campaign manager, Mr. Gates, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
That's my recollection.
Trump's campaign foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Yes, I think he pled guilty, yes.
The Attorney General at the time of those three cases was Jeff Sessions. Which president nominated Jeff Sessions for Attorney General?
President Trump.
All of these folks were convicted under the administrations of three separate Republican attorneys general. It is not the fault of the FBI that Donald Trump surrounded himself with criminals. Donald Trump brought that upon himself.
Special Counsel
Why is that not surprising? I mean, such a crazy track record. I can't even believe how far we've gotten. Oh God, here comes Jim Jordan or whatever his name is.
Robert Hur stated on page 1 of his report, quote, Our investigation uncovered
What a
evidence
dweeb
that
this
President
guy
Biden
is.
willfully materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Joe Biden not only kept information he wasn't allowed to keep, he shared it with people who weren't allowed to
No
see
way.
it. To date, Attorney General Garland has failed to produce the audio tapes. To determine whether Special Counsel Herb appropriately carried out justice by not prosecuting, not recommending for prosecution the president, the recordings are necessary. The transcripts alone are not sufficient evidence of the state of the president's memory. Frankly, because the White House has a track record of altering the transcripts. The department has a legal obligation.
Are they freaking kidding me right now? Are they complaining is he saying what I think he's saying? You're joking, right? Are these people like, I'm dying to understand the psychology behind their reasoning behind things, because it's like, then what the fuck? You just described Trump. He had all of our private documents in his bathroom. What the heck are you why is that the standards? I swear to God, they drive me
to
nuts.
turn over the requested materials pursuant to the subpoena. Attorney General Garland's willful refusal to comply with our subpoena constitutes contempt of Congress.
It is a height of hypocrisy for the
Exactly.
chairman of this committee to try to enforce a contempt subpoena
By the way, my man Ted, he's a very educated man.
against Merrick Garland when this chairman himself ignored a bipartisan congressional subpoena. Now, I've been to a number of proceedings in my time in Congress and in the state legislature, but this proceeding goes beyond stupidity. It is a waste of taxpayer resources. Why is that? Because we have the transcript. We have the transcript of the interview between Special Counsel Robert Hur and President Biden.
Oh my God.
There's no evidence whatsoever that this transcript was made up, that it's fake, that it's been doctored.
What is complaining about?
This transcript was produced by Robert Hur's office. Robert Hur was appointed by Donald Trump. He is a Republican appointee. The notion that somehow this transcript is fake is a wild, insane conspiracy.
I am so glad that Ted is putting these people in their place and properly, and mad props to him because he can actually hold his temper. Like, I would have lost my mind if I was in that seat. Oh God, here comes this nightmare of a dragon woman. This is the theme. She should be arrested for impersonating Rocky
Today,
Dennis.
I'm introducing a new amendment that would prevent President Biden or any president from selling our strategic oil reserves for political reasons. And
Her
to imagine
stupid
that
voice.
President Biden would say that he would not consider this bill. President Biden is telling America that he doesn't care about our emergency supply or our national security.
See, one thing people don't really know about these Congress hearings or whatever is that during these specific meetings, they're allowed to say whatever they want without defamation, without breaking any defamation laws or whatever. I mean, the second they're out of these hearings, it applies, but that's why these bimbos come to these meetings just saying the most outrageous things. I mean, she just lied out of her butt right there.
I can summarize
It's so annoying.
this debate of the last 2 days into one sentence. Joe Biden lowered your gas prices and Republicans are upset about it.
Oh,
That's
hell
what this
yeah.
is about. The U.S. made $4 billion
He's about to
on Joe
school
Biden's
them.
action. Republicans always want to say, well, let's run government like a business. Joe Biden did exactly that when he lowered your gas prices and then made a $4 billion profit for the United States of America. So recently,
Damn, that's what's up.
a member of the Republican caucus was asked, a member from Tennessee, what we're going to do to fix school violence, and his answer was,
we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals, and my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
well, Democrats have
That's
a different
a real
view.
answer?
Instead of wasting time on political stunts like
What the
H.R.
heck?
1,
That is
let's pass
mind-blowing.
universal background checks into law. Here's this chart. Shows that under Trump, there were 133,000 border apprehensions in May 2019. And last month, under the Biden administration, there were less than 100,000 border apprehensions. The facts show the southern border is doing better last month than it was under Trump in May 2019.
By the way, Biden and Harris totally 100% solved the border crisis. And I'm going to make a video about that soon, but they absolutely did. They will never get the credit they deserve because it's a long-term thing. It's not like an overnight process, but they did it in a very creative way, and I can't wait to get to that video.
Thank you, Secretary Mayorkas, for your public service. And now the Republicans want to impeach you. Good luck with that one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The House Judiciary Committee is responsible for helping to ensure the rule of law. Unfortunately, the chairman of this committee himself ignored a bipartisan congressional subpoena. The actions of this chairman have made it harder for congressional committees to get information from witnesses and have hurt the rule of law. Thank you, Attorney General Garland, for your public service. I'm going to ask you a series of simple questions.
I don't think that's surprising for any of us.
About past concluded cases to get the facts out to
But
American
I hate that
people.
that's a
The
thing.
Department of Justice charged Donald Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, in a federal court with multiple felonies. Mr. Manafort was convicted in a federal court, correct?
It's my recollection of what the public record discloses.
Public record shows he was convicted in a federal court. The Department of Justice charged Donald Trump's former deputy campaign chairman, Rick Gates, with multiple felonies. Mr. Gates was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Again, that's the best, to my best of my recollection, that's
Don't
what the public
even
record
try to
discloses.
play.
Thank you. The Department of Justice charged Donald Trump's former
always
campaign
dance around
foreign
it.
policy advisor, George Papadopoulos. Mr. Papadopoulos was convicted in federal court, correct?
Again, that's my best recollection of the public record.
You were not the Attorney General at the
Just say
time.
yes,
I was not,
goddammit.
no.
In fact, the Attorney General for those three criminal cases was Jeff Sessions, who was nominated by Donald Trump. The Department of Justice charged Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, with multiple felonies. He was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Again, that's my best recollection of the public record.
Look at
You were
him, he's
not the
getting
Attorney
all
General at the
nervous
time,
and
correct?
sweaty.
In fact,
It's so
Michael Cohen
bizarre.
had two sets of convictions. The Attorney General for Michael Cohen's second conviction was Matthew Whitaker, who was also appointed by Donald Trump. The Department of Justice charged Roger Stone, who was an advisor to Donald Trump, with multiple felonies. Roger Stone was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Again, my best recollection of the public
Yes, he
record.
was.
The Department of Justice charged Elliot Brady, who was a
And Trump
fundraiser
pardoned
for
his
Donald
ass.
Trump. Mr. Brady was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Same answer.
You were not the Attorney General at the time, right?
I was not.
Okay. In fact, the Attorney General for those two criminal cases was Bill Barr, who was nominated by Donald Trump. What these facts show is that the Department of Justice has not been weaponized. We have one Department of Justice that goes after criminals regardless of party affiliation. These
I
Trump
can't believe my man Ted has to even sit down and break it apart like this for them. I mean, they know damn well these are all clearly people appointed by Trump. Why are they complaining? Just to be annoying.
were convicted under the administration of three Republican attorneys general, each
And
of
they're
whom
all convicted
was
felons now.
nominated by Donald Trump. Trump's campaign manager, felon. Trump's deputy campaign manager, felon.
A felon.
Trump's foreign policy advisor, felon. Trump's lawyer, felon. Trump's political advisor, felon. Trump's
Jesus.
fundraiser, felon. It is not the fault of the Department of Justice that Donald Trump surrounded himself with criminals. Trump brought that upon himself. One of the things that makes America great is we are ruled by the law, not by a cult of personality. I want to thank you, Attorney General Garland and the Department of Justice, for applying the law without fear or favoritism. And I note that as we sit here today, the Department of Justice is prosecuting Hunter Biden in a federal court right now. You can't love your country
Bam.
only when the candidate you like wins, and you can't love law and order except when the criminal felon is someone you like. In America, no one is above the
So
law, not the
beautifully
rich,
said.
not the powerful, not any former presidents, and certainly none of his criminal felon enablers.
Joe Biden lowered your gas prices last year.
And that
I
makes
only
Republicans
wish that
mad.
that meant
And
something
how do we
to
know?
them. I
They
mean,
said it
words
out
mean
loud. The
absolutely
gentlewoman from
nothing
Georgia
to them. So
earlier this morning
it
just said
sucks.
that
I mean,
Joe
it's so
Biden lowered your
frustrating.
gas
But
prices
if
for
words
political
did
reasons.
have any
President
sort of
Biden
effect on
abused his
them,
power to
that
sell
was
our oil,
powerful.
reduce gas prices so that the midterm elections would swing Democrats' way. It's a shame to trick the American people just to win an election. There's no reason the president should be able to sell one of our most strategic resources
Dingus.
for political gain. Instead, the president should unleash American energy at home. I urge my colleagues to support my amendment and yield back.
You know, I don't care why a president lowers your gas prices.
Does she even
if any
understand
president
the
can
words
lower
that
your
she's
gas
saying?
prices, we should support that president's action. And if prices surge later this year, if gas prices surge again, Joe Biden should be able to use the tools at his disposal and lower your gas prices again. We should be giving the president even more flexibility to use the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to lower your gas prices. Joe Biden, lower your gas prices.
Again,
And Republicans.
I can't even believe that this has to be like said in front of all of us. Because that is so like basic knowledge. That's how dumb these people are. And they're in control of our country right now.
Want to keep him from doing that
Thank
again.
God for my man, Ted.
We don't want to stop the president from lowering your gas prices. We want Joe Biden to lower your gas prices again if he could do that. But there's another reason this Republican bill is so stupid.
Duh.
Because not only did Joe Biden lower your gas prices, the United States of America made a profit on it. Buy low, sell high. It was brilliant what Joe Biden did. He released the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at prices when gases were high, and that's helped lower the gas prices, and then he refilled it at the lower amount. The U.S. made $4 billion on Joe Biden's action.
Double whammy.
Republicans always want to say, well, let's run government like a business. Joe Biden did exactly that when he lowered your gas prices and then made a $4 billion profit for the United States of America. Adopt my amendment, which would make this stupid bill better, and then vote against this bill. If Republicans are going to go low, I am going to punch back. So let's talk about Donald Trump. I agree with the Republican from New Jersey who said if a person cannot stand trial,
A+.
he should not be
A+
president of the United
to Joe
States.
Biden. A+.
Donald Trump
It's
has
so
fallen asleep
crappy
multiple times
that he
in his
doesn't get the
own
credit he
criminal
deserves.
trial.
He did a
I'm
phenomenal
a former
job.
prosecutor. I can tell you that is not normal. I think there may be some physical and mental health issues that should be investigated. I'm going to tell you what people in the courtroom are writing about Donald Trump falling asleep. Here's a reporter who has been observing this.
So
One reporter
dumb.
observed, quote, that Donald Trump has nodded off a few times, his mouth going slack, and
Actually,
his
that's a
head
better
drooping
point. That's
onto
not
his
normal.
chest, end quote. Another reporter
Well, it's
said,
really immature to
quote,
begin with,
that
and
Donald
it's
Trump
very
slowly
unprofessional, and
dropped
it's
his
like
head. His
just
eyes
dumb.
closed, it jerked back upward, he adjusts himself, then his head droops again, he straightens up, leaning back,
Yeah, 'cause he's
his
like
head droops for a
150 years
third
old.
time, he shakes his shoulders, eyes closed still, his head drops, end quote. If a person is so weak and feeble,
He thinks
Donald
he's
Trump
so
is so weak
funny.
and feeble, he cannot stay awake at his own criminal trial, he can't be president of the United States. So instead of going around trying to smear different people, why don't we work on
Why didn't the
bipartisan
judge
basis
say
on issues that
anything to
matter to
him?
American
God, he gets
people?
away with so much
How about
stuff.
let's do a bipartisan hearing and let's do some bills to fix our broken
He's
immigration
incredibly
system.
weak and feeble.
But the Republicans here don't want to do that. They don't want to work on a bipartisan basis. They don't want to fix this. Why? Because Donald Trump told them not to. Well, okay, so how about another issue? Let's talk about high prices. Prices are high. We did get a good report yesterday that inflation has now slowed down. That is good, but prices are still high. Why don't we work on bipartisan basis to look at price gouging? We have companies making record profits. They're gouging consumers. Let's have a hearing on that. Why don't we have a hearing on that? Because Republicans don't want to fix this issue. They want it as a campaign issue. Okay, then how about let's do a topic that isn't a campaign issue. Artificial intelligence has now become prevalent in many places. It could have privacy implications. It could do amazing things. It could also harm us in a variety of ways in terms of bias and so on. Why don't we do a hearing on this in this committee? Why don't we do that?
That's right. That's right. That's my man, Ted. But man, he definitely put them in their place, but they're too, like, just brainless. They're absolutely brainless. They're careless, and they're exactly like very uneducated toddlers. And it's like, in all seriousness, there should be some kind of like IQ test or any kind of test, any test at all. Even like a 7th grade spelling test for them to even, you know, to be involved, to have the roles that they have. It's just mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's very frustrating. I cannot wait till this hellhole's over. This is like the worst Twilight Zone meets Black Mirror episode ever. I don't like this episode, and I can't wait till it's over, and I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do my part just to make it end quicker. Seriously. So when y'all are out there, all these little people are going to comment on this and complain and say, yeah, right, blah, blah. But it's like, don't blame me. I voted for the very intelligent, beautiful black woman, okay? Who, by the way, is absolutely unbothered. You guys swore like, oh, she's going to be so hurt. No, she don't give a fuck. She could take a loss. Trust me. That woman, she has taken some losses. She can take it like way better than Trump could ever dream of taking anything. She's fine. And I think it makes you guys look even more stupid. The fact that you guys were like, oh yeah, she lost to Trump, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't, no skin off her bones. She's living a great life. She's happy. Donald, on the other hand, he's never going to be happy. He's not happy with anything. It's like, why are you even doing this, Donald? You're going to die soon anyways. I don't know, but if I had one message to Donald, I would say, haven't you ever heard, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? What the hell's the matter with you? Go back to the hole you crawled out of. Jesus, leave us alone. Why don't you go take a spelling test or do something? Why don't you go have a Coke and a smile or go teach the world to sing or something, man?